Today we're going to talk about the best menopause diet from a physician's perspective. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Dr. Lori Marvis. I'm a board-certified family and lifestyle medicine physician, and I'm going through menopause myself. So this is a really personal journey, and I wanted to share more about what diet would be the best for you if you really want to think about, one, improving not only your menopausal symptoms, but many of the things that actually come along with menopause, like weight gain, changes in your cholesterol panel, insulin resistance, all these things that just kind of add up to, one, not make you feel well, but can actually have some really life-altering and potentially very dangerous things for your future self-health. Right? We really want you to be healthy as we go into these latter years of our life, and this is one way to do it. So if you're familiar with me and my channel, of course, you know I'm going to be all about eating more fiber. And where does fiber come from? Well, it comes from plants. So a whole food plant-based diet is really, in my perspective, something that's going to be very helpful for menopause. One, not only does it decrease your risk for chronic disease, but it improves and potentially reverses any chronic disease that you may be dealing with. And I have had patients lose anywhere from 5 pounds to 350 pounds by just changing their diet. Because when you feel better, you move more, you sleep better, your mind's better, your relationships are better. So many things improve by just changing what's in the end of your fork. So why would a plant-based diet be better for menopause symptoms? Well, let's jump onto it. So remember, menopause is where, by definition, is where you're no longer having periods for 12 months. But what I'm talking about is perimenopause. Maybe you're having some fluctuations, some craziness, middle of this journey, this menopause journey. You haven't quite hit that 12-month mark where you've not had any periods, and even post-menopause. But this diet is helpful for men and women, but we're going to be talking mostly about around menopause right now. So number one, it can help reduce hot flashes and night sweats. Now, I've actually been eating a whole food plant-based diet for over 12 years now. And my mom and my grandmother had severe menopausal symptoms for well over a decade. So I already knew that I was probably walking into a genetic trap, just it's going to be difficult. So I did have some hot flashes. And when they came, they were pretty intense, but they weren't, every hour. Like some women are just suffering from them all the time. I maybe have a couple a day, but it was enough that it got my attention. But one thing that you can absolutely see benefit is that these hot flashes and night sweats, right? These are also called vasomotor symptoms. And they really are, for many women, the most common and bothersome symptoms of menopause. And so research indicates that when you use a plant-based diet, especially one rich in soy, and then I'm talking about the whole bean soy product, like soybeans, tempeh, or edamame, that's the actual whole soybean, you're going to get a higher dose of what we call isoflavones. And there's a particular type of isoflavone or phytoestrogen that has been really beneficial in lowering your hot flashes and night sweats. And so approximately about half a cup per day is where you'll see a dramatic improvement. And I've certainly made adjustments because I was drinking more soy milk and tofu as my soy, which you can still get that. But I started adding soybeans, for example. I know it sounds crazy, but to my morning smoothie, because soybeans have kind of a sweet flavor. But you can also get some frozen edamame and heat that up, steam it. You can use that. You can also use tempeh. I had tempeh ready today as well. So just thinking about that. But when you increase your soy intake, you can see an upwards of an 84% reduction and moderate to severe hot flashes. So that is dramatic. And I would say it's going to probably take you about 12 weeks to see those benefits. Next, it improves your cardiovascular health. I think there's an abundance of evidence, contrary to what you might hear people saying, a keto diet or carnivore diet, you'll lose weight, Let's talk about actual evidence. When you see that you eating an anti-inflammatory diet, one that's zero cholesterol, one that's low in saturated fat, you're going to see improvements in your cardiovascular health. Cholesterol levels improve, your blood pressure improves, you lose weight, you decrease inflammation. All of those things are very important when you're looking at cardiovascular risk. My biological father had his first heart attack at 38. My mom's dad died at 46 with his first and only heart attack. So cardiovascularly, I'm paying attention to what's going on here. And I will tell you, with menopause comes some fluctuation in your lipid profile. So every time I've ever had a cholesterol panel done, my LDL has been under 100. Actually closer, it's been as low as 60, somewhere in the 70s. That's where it's been most of all my life that I've ever checked. When I started having these menopausal transition about 8 months ago, I mean, granted, there was some perimenopause, but all my labs still looked good. When it really hit, like, whoo, hot flashes, whoo, no period. So I checked my cholesterol panel. My LDL had gone above 100 for the first time in my entire life. And I hadn't changed my diet. I've always been at a healthy weight. So I had to adjust some things. I chose to actually do a few different things, again, increasing the soy and some other things, but I decided to go on menopausal hormone therapy, and that has been a game changer for me. My cholesterol also did drop again. So with this, if you already have a high cholesterol and LDL that's elevated and you have high inflammation, and then you hit menopause, it's going to just accelerate any cardiovascular risk profile. And you will see that in the evidence that after menopause or during this perimenopausal, menopausal phase, women's cardiovascular risk come up to and are on par with men. But before that, we have lower risk. So that lack of estrogen absolutely is critical. So we need to do everything we can to actually improve that. So I've also had cases using my cholesterol lowering protocol that I've come across and developed, which I hadn't been doing before. I could have probably done that as well. But some people actually create more LDL and they recycle it really well, even if you're not eating cholesterol. And you'll see this cholesterol just staying high. Part of the protocol is increasing certain amounts of soluble fiber, right? So we want to grab hold of that cholesterol as it's being recycled and escort it out, right? That you're producing naturally. Your body makes about 80% of your cholesterol. The other 20% usually comes from dietary sources. But if you cut out the dietary, well, you're still making some. And so what we want to do is improve the ability of our body to remove it through the waste. But also there's other things that are obviously factors in increasing triglycerides and LDL. There's many other things, but that is a simple tweak that you can do. But anyway, when you have improved body composition, you're going to see an improvement in your cholesterol as well. So moving that along, let me get down here. In addition to that, including improving your cardiovascular health, you're also going to see a shift of your visceral fat, right? So that will also, as with weight decreases, also you'll see a lower visceral fat, which is that fat in that abdominal area that you'll see increased inflammation and increase your risk for cardiovascular disease. So you'll see a lower visceral fat. And by the way, my coronary artery calcium score is 0. I had a DEXA scan that measured my visceral fat. It's almost non-existent. So I still saw an increase in my LDL with menopause. So it absolutely has an effect. I'm an N of 1, and the research does prove that as well. But anyway, whole food plant-based diet is going to improve all of those factors across the board. So if you're eating a standard American diet first and you move over to whole food plant-based diet, that's going to be a huge shift. And sometimes, in many cases, that'll be enough to get your cholesterol where you want it. That LDL, we need it below 100 and sometimes even push lower if you have any evidence of cardiovascular disease like hypertension or if you have plaque already laid down in your arteries. Next, number 3 is it promotes healthy weight management. So you're going to be eating a lower calorie diet, right? So when you switch over to a whole food plant-based diet, these are already naturally less calorically dense foods, right? And so what you're going to see here is you can eat more literally and lose weight because you're eating less calories, right? So it's still a calorie game here, but you're still feeling full because of all the fiber. And it takes a lot. If you're eating whole plant foods and you're staying away from the more calorically dense ultra processed foods and you're not eating a ton of, let's say, nuts, butters and stuff, I try to keep that to maybe a quarter cup a day because they're still very important to have healthy fats. And they do help lower cholesterol, by the way, nuts and seeds in their raw form. But what you want to see here is you will see a shift to lowering weight. And that alone will help. We understand that helps inflammation, that helps your insulin sensitivity and such. So it does help promote weight loss. Next, you have a reduction of, I'm trying not to sneeze, excuse me. You'll see a reduction in risk for chronic disease. And so when you're eating these foods, when we're decreasing inflammation, you're promoting a healthy weight, which gives you more energy, and you're exercising more, you're sleeping better. Altogether, you will see some improvements here. But again, they also help, balance certain hormone levels and different things. So you'll also see improvements in decreased risk of chronic disease. There you go, which can also worsen menopausal symptoms. Next, it can improve your bone health, right? So when you think about these phytoestrogen-rich soy foods, especially, that's going to be really, really critical to improve your bone health. You can find amazingly rich, calcium-rich plant foods. You can have excellent protein sources. So all these things are really important for your bone health, along with resistance-type training or weight-bearing exercises. I've done an entire workshop for our Healing Kitchen members all about osteoporosis. Now, again, this is, depending on you, if you've had a fragility fracture, that's a different conversation versus prevention of osteoporosis. Or if you have osteopenia, and what can we do to, decelerate or halt the progression to osteoporosis and potentially reverse? These are the things you want to do. We want to make sure your vitamin D is good, your protein, your calcium, and you consume these at least 2 servings of whole soybean foods daily. So again, that can have a very positive effect on your bone health. One, it also enhances mental health. I have had many patients improve depression and anxiety and even schizophrenia. Believe it or not, I had a patient with schizophrenia had some improvement in hallucinations, which was a really interesting case. But you'll see improvements in anxiety and depression because when you're sleeping better, you're having decreased brain inflammation. Again, think about the fiber, and you're feeding the little hormones that are the little hormones. You're feeding the little microbes that make your good feeling hormones, and there's this brain gut connection. Again, I can go on for hours just about that, but you will see improvements in your mental health, in your relationships, and just in decreased stress. So we can definitely think about eating your way to feeling better in so many ways. I think it just improves your quality of life, right? So when you're sleeping better, when you're eating better, when you're losing weight, have more energy and exercising, that alone, that quality of life will improve menopause. And I already had a great quality of life, but granted, even then you'll see a shift in menopause will cause something. I can't even imagine what that would have been like if I'd had to be dealing with type 2 diabetes or some severe ailment or chronic disease that's more lifestyle caused by lifestyle changes, because it was already difficult enough. And so if you're dealing with chronic disease, it may seem overwhelming because then you add on menopause on top of it. Well, do what you can first, right? So what are those daily things that you can do? Eating more fiber-rich foods, more whole plant foods. That's a simple move in the right direction. And one thing I like to use as an illustration, if you have an arrow, right, and it's going north, if you start with the same starting point and you change it to just like 1 degree, over time with consistent behavior, these small 1 degree changes, you'll see over time, you'll see this added benefit, right? So it goes from going in the same direction, and you'll see this dramatic delta increases. So you'll see a quality of life improvement. Also mentioned too, supporting hormonal health, right? So you're thinking the phytoestrogens in plant-based foods are actually those natural hormone regulators, right? So they can bind to estrogen receptors in the body and actually, in some cases, be very weak estrogen-like, or they can actually decrease your native estrogen, so they decrease risk for like breast cancer, right? So they can compete for binding to the different estrogen receptors. So that's where the phytoestrogens are actually very beneficial. You're competing with your natural estrogen, and the one they do connect, they're very, very, very weak, and they prefer these what we call estrogen beta receptors. So they hit the bones, for example, and they increase your bone density. So again, there's a lot of benefits to consuming, phytoestrogen-rich foods. And you can Google a list. Again, I'm not here to give 100% of everything, but I just want to highlight all the benefits of a whole food plant-based diet on your menopause journey. And the last two are reducing inflammation and improving your gut health, because when we talk about chronic disease, inflammation is at the top of the list. And one of the things I see dramatically shift in almost every single person that goes from a standard American diet to a whole food plant-based diet is they're like, man, I just feel so much better. I don't feel so inflamed. Their inflammatory markers and laboratory-wise also improve. Joint pain improves. Migraines improve. Skin improves. So again, this is just where you'll see that notching down of inflammation. And we understand inflammation worsens with menopause, but if you're eating an anti-inflammatory diet, that's a great way to mitigate it or combat it. That just comes along with these hormonal shifts. And then, of course, the gut health. Fiber. is your answer to feeding the microbes that are going to be beneficial for your long-term health. We really need to think about that we are actually, as human beings, we're not just this isolated one body, that there's literally trillions of bacteria in and on our bodies that really have significant impact on our overall quality of life and our overall longevity and health. So thinking about what we can do to feed these little guys. So you get what you feed. So think of it that way. So if you're eating these whole plant foods, these are anti-inflammatory. These are make you more insulin sensitive. Again, the gut microbes are so very important. And many people say your health starts in your gut. And what is the one thing your gut is always exposed to is the food that you're consuming. So if you're consuming ultra processed foods with chemicals that we can't even pronounce, well, you're going to probably get the health that you're feeding your body, right? So now, again, I understand things happen, and even people who do everything right will still have things happen. However, you won't be also adding on the layers of other things like type 2 diabetes or hypertension or heart disease. You're going to be decreasing those progression or even halting or preventing it altogether. So I hope you found that helpful. Is just, again, the benefits are going to be, let me just scroll through, reducing hot flashes and night sweats, improve cardiovascular health, weight management, reduction of chronic diseases, improvement of your bone health, enhancing your mental health, improving quality of life just in general, supporting hormonal balance, reducing inflammation, and improving your gut health. So lots of good things there. I hope you found this beneficial. And by the way, if you're struggling with menopause and weight gain, or just dealing with, let's say pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes, and you really want to figure out what's going on, you're dealing with cholesterol, and maybe you've just been on this plant-based diet and you're still struggling to lose weight, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're new to the whole food plant-based diet or just struggling with weight loss in general. I came up with a free masterclass. It's the 5 steps to master your metabolism and lose weight. I speak to the 4 biggest problems that people encounter on their weight loss journey, because I've helped thousands of people find health across the country as I'm licensed in all 50 states and DC. And it's free. It's 90 minutes. It is an investment in time, but I think you'll find that it really kind of reshapes and reframes your perspective on how you should approach your health and being more proactive. So the registration link is below if you're on YouTube, and it's up in the bio if you're on Instagram. So appreciate your time as always, because I know that's one thing you can't give back once you've given it away. And I'll be back tomorrow with another edition of something. We'll see what comes to mind. But I hope you find this helpful, and I'm sending you love, joy, peace, and gratitude, and of course healing, because we need more of that in every single day of our lives. So you guys have a great day, and I'll be back, and I'll see you next time.